I worked myself so hard that I turned a person this fucked up into this motherfucker right here. Not off of reading a book off a theorist, off of going to work on myself and saying, I don't know how to do this, but I know that to get over there to that side, I gotta grind myself into a fine powder. And I did it. I did it off of sure will. And very few people will know how that feels. Very few. I'm kind of a crazy guy. I overtrain for everything I do. I'm not a triathlete by any means. I just train. So my weekly mileage on the run is about 120, 125. And I bike about 200 to 250 miles a week. And I swim anywhere from 8 to 10 miles a week. So I'm a big ultra runner, is what I am. And everything else is kind of cross training. I'm in search for a feeling. I'm not in search for a trophy. I'm not in search for love. I'm not in search for more followers on Instagram or social media. When I started this journey years ago, and I realized that I'm going to be somebody, and I'm searching for a feeling of true victory for myself, and only myself. The second I shut out the whole world and realized that one thing, that I am in this world alone. I'm fighting in this race by myself. Yeah, I'm all about people, I'm all about team, I'm all about that shit. But I'm really all about right now and in my life, just like you said, no one knows the real truth about me, how hard I really go. I don't care if anybody knows. I don't want anybody to know. I'm an introvert. I live an introverted life. And I love that about me. That right there is my fuel, is I know that there's really no one out there grinding like me. And if they are, so be it. If I know about you, I'll make sure that I up my game. That's what the mentality is all about. My whole thing is a mentality thing.
I figured this out. Most of us are only 1 to 10% away from greatness. But we think we're so far away from it that we never try. And once I started going down this journey, I started realizing that, and those percents started to add up. And before I knew it, my mind started hardening, and I started passing so many different people that I thought were so far above me. And then before I knew it, man, I became a common amongst the uncommon.
A lot of you think I don't have a job. You always say, I see it. If I didn't have a job like you, Goggins, I would work out all day. I got a motherfucking job. I work 16-hour days in the fire line. When I'm demoting, that means coming off the fire line, I work 20-hour days. I always get it in. On the fire line, during the 16-hour days, still get them in. Lunch hour break, get them in. Any break I have, get them in. The excuse is, you want to make yourself feel better because you want to think that your life is so much harder than somebody else's. It's not. You're lazy. You don't put the effort in. You don't want to work at it.
There were so many times in my life growing up, I wanted to fit in. And I wanted to be part of a group. And I didn't have any want. And I didn't have that desire. So when you're trying to fit in, when you're trying to be cool, when you're trying to be whatever the hell it is, without having that internal dog, that fight, when things get hard in life, all you do is quit. When you have that internal in you, like I've developed over a lot of years, this dog, it starts to get built up in you, this fight, this warrior. And when things get difficult, you may not make it, but you come back. You start to build a different voice in your head. That internal conversation, that internal strength, that internal dog, it starts to develop an internal voice. And while my voice in my mind for the first 24 years of my life was very weak, when I started to really build my insides, like my guts getting hard and everything about me getting harder, it developed a different voice. That voice of nurturing, like, oh, David, you came from an abused family. You came from this, you came from that. It's okay. This dog started coming up where it's not okay. I wanted to be one of the 1%ers, not the 99%. I realized I had one life to live, and I have to live it. There's not two lives, there's one life. And all these things started happening to me. And then once that started happening, man, everything flipped. But that internal, it starts to build a voice in you that doesn't allow you to sleep in, doesn't allow you to take days off when you know that you're behind. It just keeps you in check throughout everything you're doing in life because it's not going to allow you to fail. But if you'll work on the inside of you, you will always have that nurturing voice that guides you where it's okay. It's always okay. And if I would have had that, it would have been okay to stay 300 pounds doing what I was doing. So that internal is everything.
I viewed myself as the weakest person on the planet Earth. My goal in life was to, in my mind, believe I'm the hardest man alive. And that's why the whole thing is can't hurt me. That's what it's about. It's about whatever you think you are, you have to make that dream a reality. But that's where the hard part is making that dream reality. That's where the hard work comes. That's where people know, how do you keep grinding every day? You have to make those insecurities, those fears. Like when I was 300 pounds, I didn't have any drive. I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL. What kind of stupid shit is that, 300 pounds? There wasn't like a drive to go be a Navy SEAL. I was an insecure, lying kid, afraid. I had to look at my insecurities and in my fear and find drive in that. We're all looking for passion. Passion's all around you. You have a whole stack of it all around you. It's your insecurities, all that shit. You gotta dive deep in that shit. It's all in there. All the energy and fuel you need is right in yourself. It's all there. You got a lot of stuff to do to overcome. And that's where I found it. I found it right there in my own insecurities. I found drive in my own insecurities. And that's the most powerful thing in the world. When you can find drive in your own doubt, fear, insecurities, you become very unstoppable.
I was haunted. I've been haunted since I was a young kid. I saw a lot of things I shouldn't have seen. I've seen a lot of, I saw a lot of death. I saw my mom get beat. And when you're going through this, you start to develop a lot of fear. Fear of attacking life, fear of failure, fear of having big goals, big dreams. So I would dream really small. And all these things happened. And I was just afraid to face that, we all have what it takes, but it's just not that easy. And I knew I had what it took, but I'm really big at visualizing. And I was able to visualize what it was going to take for me to be a Navy SEAL. What it was going to take for me to lose this weight. What it was going to take for me to be somebody I was proud of to look in the mirror. And after a while, if you start to work on the inside of you, that whole inside thing, that voice, like I said, it gets louder and louder, and it becomes more and more haunting. And the more haunting it becomes, the more it doesn't allow you just to live your life. Eat those donuts, not work out, living these mediocre, working these mediocre jobs with mediocre money, living in a mediocre house. It's saying you're better than this. It's gonna take a lot of damn work, a lot of hard work. And that's what happened to me. Over a period of time, that voice that haunted me got louder and louder and louder. Before I knew it, I couldn't sleep. And I had to start conquering all these things just to be at peace with myself.
I invented a motherfucker. I actually sat back when I was fat, nasty, out of shape, miserable, and created a human being in my mind that didn't even exist. And said, that's what I want to be. I want to be that guy. I want to be a guy that's capable of doing exactly what I'm doing today. And you have to, if you weren't born that guy, that mentally strong guy, he can be made. Woman, man, whatever the hell you are, it can be made. But in making that person, you have to be who the fuck you are every day of your life, and never care about anybody who gets in your way that said you're not doing something the proper way. I was always afraid of people not wanting to, like, when you get beat as bad as I did, I lied all the time. I wanted to be accepted and loved and all that shit that I created about 50 people. Whatever you like, I like. Just if you would be my friend, just be my friend. And that's where we get lost in life. I was honest. Look at yourself, man. Look at yourself. And it was that day, and a couple of days after that, I just got real with myself. And every day I came home, I called the accountability mirror. What am I gonna do today to change what I see in this mirror? What am I gonna do today? And a lot of it was, I stopped sitting with the cool guys. I actually tucked my shirt in and went to school looking like, hey man, this is how I'm gonna look. If you don't like it, so be it. I had to really wear this layer of skin. I had to develop a really calloused skin on me to take whatever you're gonna call me, you're gonna call me. Whatever I'm gonna be, you know, I want a geek, but whoever I am, you're gonna see me. You're gonna see me for who I am, because I need to change who I'm not. And that accountability mirror just became raw. And when I became fat over the years, because I fell back in the hole, I called myself fat, because I was fat. And people don't want to do that. They want to say, oh, don't call yourself fat. Don't call yourself dumb. If you're not real and raw with who the fuck you are, nothing's gonna change. And in this nice new world that we live in, we want to hear, you're just a little big. No, man, you might be fat. And it's okay to hear that from yourself and from everybody else. So that's where it started at. And it's raw. It gets ugly sometimes with me in that mirror, but I'm also proud of myself to be able to tell myself that and then fix what's in that mirror.
99.9% of the shit I did to get to where I'm at today was alone. Alone. Out there running in cold and heat, suffering in pools, trying to swim, at home in a room by myself, trying to teach myself how to read and write, how to study. You know, no one saw that shit. There were no video cameras, there was no podcast, there was no Who's David Goggins.
Basically, just hard work and outworking the hand I was dealt. I was dealt a horrible hand, and I outworked it. I outworked the hell out of it, and I'm very proud of that.
Because I'm proud of what I created, but I'm more proud of I created it without an audience, without a cheering squad, without someone like you run the Boston Marathon and people love that race. They run so fast because for 26.2 miles. There's a motherfucker just, come on, man, you got it, you can do it. You know who you are when there's no motherfucker out there when you're running. And you're at mile 75, a 150-mile race, ain't nobody cheering for you. You're broken, you're defeated, it's you and you alone in your head. And I stayed that way for the better part of 30 years. What has helped me has been me alone, getting my shit together and being accountable for who I'm not and who I want to be. It's the only thing that's helped me. You face it every day. You face it every single day of your life where you say, okay, like if you're fat, you need to lose weight. It's patience. It's patience in this fact of accepting who you are right now. I'm fat, I don't like myself. Accepting the fact that if you lose 3 or 4 pounds, that's a huge accomplishment. You have to live in your own world. You cannot judge yourself. That's why social media and all these things are horrible. You can't judge yourself off of the so-called competition that we have made up in our mind. The things that, how people look, how people act, how smart someone is. This is a race that you run completely alone. And you're all by yourself. I had tons of sticky notes all over my mirror. It wasn't like, be better than John or be as fast as whoever. Okay, David, yesterday you did this. Today, our next goal for the week is this. So I had a year goal, weekly goals, daily goals, hourly goals, and the big goal was I lied a lot growing up. I wanted to be accepted. One goal was, let's go one day without lying. Let's go one day, and then when I would lie to somebody, I would say, hey man, now I had to go back now and apologize, say, hey man, I lied to you. You know how hard it is to go back to somebody and say, I lied to you? Hey man, you know what? Back there, I lied to you, dude. I was really jacked up. So I figured out these ways of total accountability. Like right now, I had to run this morning before I talked to you. Because why? That's what I'm about. I'm about mind, body, fitness. A lot of folks talk so much shit about, hey, I'm gonna change your life. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Are you accountable for what you're doing? Are you accountable, and I mean to the T, for what you're saying? I am.
And that's where it started. It started with that total accountability of, let's not lie today. Let's tell people the truth about who you are. And when you can get on and tell someone, like I'm doing right now, exactly how up you are, that's the goal in life. To put your life on a billboard, on the busiest road, in the busiest highway in the world, and say, this is how up I used to be. Take it or leave it. I taught myself everything in my whole life. I'm not a theorist, people. There's a bunch of people who are theorists who go to the library, study the mind. They study it in a book. I studied it by being a practitioner. I put my mind in hell, and I realized how it was thinking. And I figured out tools and tactics on how to get through it by being in it, not by studying it, by being in it. And literally, that's how I started callousing over. You know how, so I did 67,000 pull-ups in 9 months, and it calloused my hands. It calloused my hands real good to protect my hands against the bar. I started learning how to callous my mind, to callous over my victim's mentality. And that's what I did. I talk about the new norm. When I lived in a $7 a month place when I was growing up for a short period of time, I loved it. I didn't know any different. That was my norm. Once we moved out of that place, we moved to a $236 a month place. I was like, shit, I never want to go back to that little piece of shit. But if you go back to that $7 a month place and you realize this is where I live, this is all I got. Your mind says, roger that, this is home. So when I was going through Navy SEAL training for 18 months and going back through all the hard parts over and over again, I told myself after the first time, I knew it was gonna be a long journey there. My body was breaking down. It was just how it was going on. I said, you know what, this is my new norm. So my mind said, it's like going to work. Like you go to work, you put your suit and tie on, I go into suffering every day. Every day, suffering, being broken, duct taping my feet up, stress fractures, shin splints, being broken. This is my new norm. And your mind says, if we're not broken, this ain't normal. We gotta be broken. So then your mind starts to get tougher and tougher and more callous. People, how did you run on broken feet? Broken shins. My mind knew this is how we operate. We're in Navy SEAL training. This is what we are. I became hell. And that became my new norm. I gave myself no way out. There was nothing outside these walls of hell. Nothing. I love God, but for a short period of time, I became the devil because that was hell. I became the boss, the owner, the CEO of Navy SEAL training. That was my mindset. And that's how you get through things. You immerse yourself in wherever it is, and you become that. You become that and give yourself no way out. I had to sit down. Each thing that is wrong with you has to be a focal point. You can't look at this gigantic list and say, I gotta change all this shit. My God, this is crazy. No. You take off the first one. I wanna be smarter. For me, that was my thing. I have to become more intelligent. I have such a severe learning disability, man. I can't retain shit. I had to now get that one thing and then strategize in that one problem. How can I do this? I'm not gonna learn like you. I'm not gonna learn like anybody else. How am I gonna figure this out? So I then figured out, okay, where are my strengths here? Where are my weaknesses in learning? All right, man, how am I gonna do this? And I figured out a way to do it by just strategizing. So how I learn to this day, if I have a big manual to study, I will have to get a bunch of spiral notebooks from the daggone store. And each page, I have to write each page out, maybe 10 times. So there was a 1,000-page dive manual that I got 18 months before I went to dive school. Most people, I'm not smart, I'm gonna go see if I can pass this test. I realized, hang on a second, I'm not smart. How can I get past this? How can I get through this obstacle? I need to acquire this book 18 months in advance because it could take me 18 months to write down each page over and over again to then put it to memory. So when the question came up, I had written that question so many times down on paper that I can recall, okay, page 71 was where I remember seeing this, and I can recall it that way. And that's how I did it. So you got to strategize on each problem you have in life. Slowly break down that problem. Don't think about all the problems you have, just one at a time. And before you know it, you fix all these problems, but you cannot focus on all of them. Just on the one thing at a time. Like, where do I want to be in life? Where do I see myself? And then I start making these plans on how I'm going to get there. And I don't deviate from that plan. So that's kind of how I do them now. A lot of us hope and we wish for things to happen. And I was the biggest person, doing that when I was growing up, man. I wish my situation was different. I hoped for this miracle to happen. And the more I realized it was never going to happen, I started realizing I had to form something, and I had to form belief. And this isn't like an after-school special belief. This is like, it's great for your mom and dad to say, believe in yourself. And after a while, you start to actually do that. But in those hard times, it doesn't work real well. So I started building belief by doing these extreme hard things. It's not just like running or swimming or whatever it may be. For me, starting off, it was just studying. It was just realizing, man, I battled depression real young, and I'd have these highs and lows. And I had to learn to manage these highs and lows, and that was so difficult to do. It's hard to perform when you have no purpose at all. It is so difficult when you're fat, when you're out of shape, when you're depressed, when you have a hard time learning and you've been abused and you have all these hard times. You fluctuate. On the happy times, you think about a million things you want to do. Oh, I want to get this and I want to get that. And then on those bad times, you just want to survive. So I started really chunking my life down and just focusing on one thing at a time so I could acquire that belief that I needed to attack all the things that I attacked.
We have to find our new norm. Our new norm is something like this. When I was going through SEAL training, it's only supposed to be 6 months. I was there for 18 months, kept on getting set back and set back and set back. You gotta change your mindset to know my whole job now is at 4 o'clock in the morning. I get the shit kicked out of me for 18 months. You gotta create that new norm. That has to be your lifestyle. You are the master of your own mind. Create that masterpiece. Be proud of yourself at the very end of it all.
Why the hell am I out here in Nashville, 90 degrees, running with 7 layers on, with a 45-pound pack? 2014, I had to drop out of bad water for health issues. Bad water is the great equalizer. That heat makes everybody slow. I'm not a fast runner. But one thing I do have is I train hard for the heat. So when the heat comes, I'm ready for it. One thing we do in life is we allow the better people who have more skills than us, faster than us, get in our heads. Wimbledon right now, Roger Federer. Before somebody gets on the tennis court with Roger, they're already 2 sets down mentally. We can't live our lives that way. We gotta get on the equal playing field. Find a way to get on equal playing field with somebody. Get in the game.
It's important for you to do the job right the first time. When I was growing up, I had a tough grandfather, and he was all about perfection the first time. And being a young kid coming from trauma, I wanted people to feel sorry for me. So I didn't really give my best effort the first time. So he didn't feel sorry for me at all. So he made me stay there until the job was done the right way. And I learned later on, if you got it done the first time, there'd be no second or third time.
What you need was just straight up, brutal work ethic.
In life, there's a lot of things we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be our best. We're supposed to get up early. We're supposed to work out. We're supposed to be uncomfortable.
I get up about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, and I work out until about 8. And that's right, to be at work. And I go to work from about 8 until about 6 o'clock, and then I bike back home. So I'm on the bike anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day. And if I'm running anywhere between 100 to 150 miles a week. So that's basically what I do. I also hit the weights about 3 or 4 times a week because it's important, but also weight training also.
Don't get it twisted. It's not about flipping tires. I'm in Las Vegas right now and it's hot as shit. It's not about any of that. But what it is about is a lot of us give total control to life. We don't have any control of it. We just give all control to life. I do this shit every morning to prepare my mind for what life's gonna throw at me. A healthy body gives you a healthy mind. That's what it's about. So if you go into battle, you wanna go into battle with the right mindset, the right gear. In combat, you wear body armor. But what we do wrong is we don't strengthen our minds. You gotta strengthen your mind, take control of that. So then when you get out in the real world, and they you up, you got protection. In your mind, when you push real hard, you have this door in your mind. And a lot of us don't want to open that door. Once you open that door, you're in a tunnel. It's a dark ass tunnel. And you can't see shit. But there's one thing about being in dark places. If you have the courage to stay in there long enough, your eyes will start to adjust to the darkness. Your body and mind will always adjust to more suffering, to more pain. If you want to push harder, know this. Your mind quits way before your body does. So you have to be willing to go way into that darkness and find more of yourself.
I believe that most human beings are only living at about 40% of their capability. So the mind has a governor, like a car. If you're driving a car and the car has a governor on it, the car may say 130 miles an hour, but the governor's set for 91. Once that governor sets in, you get to 91, that car starts doing this. The car wants to go. The car wants to go, but that factory said, we're not going past 91. We have a factory, a nice governor in our brain, and it's a survival mechanism. It protects us from pain and suffering. The second we feel that shit, our mind says, oh no, this isn't fun. We should back off. We should sit down, find something more comfortable. And there's something about the mind. The mind has the tactical advantage over you at all times. At all times of your life, the mind has a tactical advantage over you. Why is that? It knows what you're afraid of. It knows your insecurities. It knows your deep, dark lies. And it starts to push you away from that shit. It pushes you in a direction that is comfortable. The mind controls everything. So what I realized was that when I was growing up and I was 300 pounds and I got all fat and I got all insecure, I realized that my mind kept taking me in this direction. When things got uncomfortable for me, when I was facing my insecurities, I was facing my fears, my mind said, oh no, we have the tactical advantage. We need to get you, separate you from this feeling over here. Life's all about feelings. We want the happy feeling. We don't want that feeling of this sucks. Why am I here? And you don't have any, so you can't answer those questions, so you leave. I started realizing that if in that moment you can answer those up questions and you are now in charge of your brain versus your brain ruling you, that's where all that stuff comes from. So the 40% rule is all of that. You get to 40%, your brain says, we're done. Let's roll, man. This is starting to get painful. This is uncomfortable. So you sit down. You have to figure out ways, and everybody's different. That's how the book kind of talks about, like we all have these things about, 5 steps to this and 4 steps to this. It's a lot more than that. That's all bullshit. It's a practice that you have to, it's a habit. So if you know that at 40%, I'm feeling pain. At 40%, I'm feeling pain. That's where the 40% rule kicks in. Now it starts. Okay, I'm feeling pain. My mind's saying all this shit to me. It's saying, get out of here, run, flee. The fight or flight kicks in. Okay, we're done. We're not good enough. It starts telling you all these things. You start to believe it because the mind controls all. This is the time where you have to gain control back of your mind. It's okay. Let me see if I can go 45%. And once you start giving yourself more and more hope and start realizing, okay, the mind starts to be, okay, what are you doing? We're supposed to be going right and you're going left. You start then controlling your mind. Start finding more in yourself. And then it goes from 40% to a lot further than that. But that's the start of it though. Get to the spot where your mind is saying stop. Whatever that is, you gotta get there first. And then that's when that shit starts to work for you. You gotta control yourself in that moment. What's amazing about the human mind is that it becomes your new norm. Like
to think that I can run 200 miles, 240 miles, and that becomes like running 50. I never thought that was possible. This is why I'm always pushing that limit, because I know that within pushing these limits, there's always more.
You're thinking too much off the bat. When I lost my weight, I didn't look for a trainer. I didn't do all that thinking. I didn't go on Jenny Craig. I didn't do all that shit. What I did was I basically stopped eating so much food. I cut my calories down. So as far as the workout goes, we overthink that also. Until you find a trainer, go out there and start walking. Put some shoes on, start running. Go to the gym, do the elliptical trainer. It's not rocket science. A lot of folks talk about overtraining. You gotta train first before you can overtrain. Sometimes you wake up in the morning time and you're sore and you feel like you're overtrained. No, you got sore legs. Get out of your own head and stop overthinking it.